So this is to start. I want to paint this picture, and I think this is going to be very revealing for many of you on the line here. So I was on the line yesterday with Christine, and obviously Dr. Christine is a new client, and so she's interested in everything that we're doing. We're going over day ones and day twos, and I actually have a training with her team later today. We're doing a Zoom call training, and so last week we went over day one, and she wanted care plans. And this is why I'm bringing this up today, because we're going to talk about this today. And the fact that, so all of us on this line, myself included, we had challenges with certain patients. Now, some of us have more challenges than others in getting people to sign on to care plans. Okay. So this is the big thing. And I want to paint this big picture because I think this will be very revealing. From the mindset of a layperson, why would somebody that's coming to a chiropractor want to get on a care plan? Okay, because think of it, like most people that come to a chiropractor come because of why? Why would they come? You guys can open up your lines here. Why would people come to the chiropractor for the most part? I think that's
At
pretty
least I
obvious.
think back pain.
Right, because they're having some sort of back pain. And we even amplify that because like most of us that are doing any type of marketing, in many cases, we're marketing with a pain-based type of symptom-based type of ad. So we're bringing people in because of pain. That seems to be a good trigger to bring people in. And then we try to present them a care plan. Well, in the mindset of somebody that's coming in, if they're coming in because of pain, they want their pain gone. Why would they shift their mindset to get onto a care plan? But here's how we bridge this all together. And I was actually thinking about this, and I really think this is a revelation. And I almost wish I was in practice right now to share this with my team, because here's how it is that we have to tie together the big why of their symptom, right? What is causing them, or that symptom, what is it causing in their life for them to have this problem, this big problem in their life? So that's the pain that they have is a symptom from an underlying problem, but it's creating a roadblock or an obstacle in their life from where they are for where they want to be. Okay, so that's number one. So we have to try to get to why they want to change, but we have to tie this into principle in some way. Okay, so and I really want you guys to get this. In fact, I would love for you to take some notes on this and talk about this with your team, because this is how it has to work. If we can tie in principle in the fact that our body is uniquely created to heal when we remove all the interference. So any symptom they have right now is as a result of an underlying problem. Symptoms don't just magically occur. There is an underlying problem of why we have all symptoms. Okay, the body is naturally created to heal and be well and healthy, symptom free. Okay, we're supposed to function perfectly all the time. Let's assume that's the case. And if we have a symptom, there's an underlying problem there. So now if we can say, okay, well, our exam and our type of technique, obviously this is spinal correction mastery call. So we're talking about technique, but if our technique is very specific to remove the interference, right? So remember, when we're talking about spinal correction, there's a reason we practice spinal correction, and that is the big picture of removing interference, because it all comes back to principle. So if we don't include that, we just become spinal mechanics. That's all we do, right? So we're far beyond a spinal mechanic. We're not a therapist. So if we can tie that in with our systems, the way we attract people, the way we meet people on day one, the way we nurture them through day three, when we present our care plan is then a reflection of the correction we're trying to make. Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that there has to be some sort of objective measurement that we're obtaining, that through our course of care, we're trying to get to an outcome. And by getting to that outcome, we are creating a better life for them through the principle of chiropractic, right? If that makes sense. So to just implement a care plan for the sake of implementing a care plan in the patient's mindset, it's only like there's honestly, if I'm a patient and I don't get that, why would I sign on to a care plan? There's no reason for me. I came for my pain. I went out of pain. If it takes me 2 visits, fantastic. If it takes me 5 visits, fantastic. Some people come in with this pre-expectation, whether they were told by their medical doctor or a friend or somebody else who went to some other chiropractor that runs the joint, that if it takes more than 4 visits, then they're robbing you. They're taking your money. So if they come in with that mentality, whether they get out of pain in 4 visits or whether they don't get out of pain in 4 visits, if they don't get it, if we don't relay or articulate that message, they're gone. So that's why through our patient attraction systems and our nurture system, we have to give them some introduction to principles so they understand that I am created perfectly. There's this innate intelligence within me that allows me to function and heal. And if I remove the interference, if I have the interference removed, I can heal, whether it came in with back pain, headaches, migraines, hormones, gastric reflux, testicular problems, whatever that might be, whatever the symptom is, if we can restore proper function through the nervous system by removing subluxation, my body has the opportunity to heal. And if patients don't get that, they stay in this pain model. They would never sign on to a care plan, and thus our conversions just go down. They're way down. So does that make sense? So this is a Gallup poll from Palmer College, which talks about stats for chiropractic when it comes to supply and demand. And I want to show you some of these stats here. So is chiropractic in high demand or high supply? Well, here's some stats. So this is, again, right from Palmer College. 14% of adults say they have seen a chiropractor in the last 12 months. Okay, not very many, 14%. So that means 86% of people have not seen a chiropractor in the last year. 25% of people polled had visited a chiropractor more than 5 years ago. And 60% of those say 60% of those who have been to a chiropractor, of all of the ones that were polled, say they only went when they have pain. Okay, so as a profession, we have failed miserably at explaining to the public or getting the public to understand really what our profession was built on and what we stand for. So this is where we have to come together and say, like, you know, we have to look at our procedures and the way we're articulating chiropractic to people, number one, for our own benefit, for their benefit, and for the profession. So that's the whole point of this. So the average number of visits going to a chiropractor from this Gallup poll, for men, it's less than 10 visits, 9.4 visits, and for women was 11.5 visits. So women, for some reason, go to chiropractors more than men do. Do any of you see that in your practice? Would you say, just, and maybe without even looking at the stats, would you have more females in your practice or more males? Who would answer that?
Far more females.
Tony, more females? I think Justine's going more females. Yeah, she says yes. Steve, you too? Yeah, yeah. Okay. And I would say, yeah, definitely that was, and I mean, plus, I mean, we had myself and my wife in the practice, so male and female, but absolutely, she saw a lot more females. I saw definitely more females than males.
Well, and in general, females, like the women, are the healthcare decision makers for most families. So we need to understand who we're talking to.
Yeah, big time. Here's in the poll, here's the age range. So in the ages 18 to 34, 63% have never been to a chiropractor. So nearly 2/3 of people under the age of 35 have never ever seen a chiropractor. And above 35, 44% have never been to a chiropractor of all the people polled. So that, I mean, that opens up the door to say, okay, for our marketing, where should we be marketing? You know, and maybe there's some reasons behind that when you think about that. Maybe at over the age of 35, there's perhaps a little more disposable income. Perhaps people are in more of a family situation. They may have more health concerns that stimulated them to go seek help at that point. So these are all things to think about as well. Here are again some stats. So this is, again, a screenshot right from that study. And this says, I want to talk to a chiropractor about general health and wellness issues such as diet and nutrition. So 7% said, yes, I strongly agree. But if you look at the right side of the graph, or the right side of the chart, 26% and 33% said, I disagree somewhat, or I strongly disagree, that they didn't want to talk to a chiropractor about health and wellness issues. So people generally don't look at us as quote unquote healthcare providers. They look at us as back pain treaters. Essentially, that's what the bottom line of this study comes down to. Treaters of back pain. On the bottom, it says chiropractor is the first healthcare provider I want to talk about my health. Well, only 4% said yes, but 31% and 43%. So what's that? 74% said they disagree significantly or strongly. So, I mean, clearly we're not doing a very good job. So again, that's supply and demand. So we are definitely in a state of high supply compared to demand. And you can see that. I mean, you see, and I see it regularly because I mean, obviously with providing services of marketing, I see chiropractors who are struggling like crazy, trying to get people into their office. But honestly, most of my conversation is not, you don't need more people knocking on your door. You need to figure out what's going on inside. You need to learn how to deliver chiropractic. And you know, most of them need coaching, not marketing. You don't want to market to something that's a bad product. You know, I hate to say that, but that's the way it is. So what is a commodity? And this is the whole thing. And this is, you know, I talk about this often in the fact that people look at what we do as chiropractors as a commodity. So, you know, again, from marketing, you see in a city like Toronto, the majority of chiropractors are doing some form of online marketing, and the public might, you know, scroll through their Facebook feed or their Instagram feed and see, anytime they're scrolling through in the matter of 15, 20 minutes, see 7, 8, 9, 10 different chiropractic ads on there. Well, if they don't know the difference, or if they don't know what the chiropractor is providing, they have this mindset of all chiropractors do the same thing and they are treaters of back pain, if that's the general, consensus, then who am I going to go to? I'm going to go to the one with the what? The lowest price, right? So when we think about it that way, if we haven't positioned ourselves properly, they go to the one with the lowest price, and then it's a race to the bottom. And people that respond to low price offers, people that come to your office only want to, they want to come how often? They want to come once. They want to spend next to nothing. They certainly don't want to come back, or let alone get on a care plan. And we see that. I mean, we've talked about, Steve and I've talked about that. Tony and I've talked about that. We get all these people in. Well, and they're terrible patients. They don't show up, or they come in, they only want to come in once, or they don't want to get on care plans, or they might come for a couple of visits, they disappear. We have 60, 70, 80 new patients on the books. Maybe even if we do get the majority of those in, our conversion rate onto care plans is very, very low. So we have to start repositioning ourselves on what we do. And that's the whole purpose of why we're talking about this. So how does a business differentiate itself from others in the same industry so it does not appear as a commodity? So we're going to go through 10 solutions here, and I want to make this interactive. So I would love some thoughts from you guys. I'm going to try to guide the ideas here, and you guys give me some suggestions on how this is working. So number one, highlight the unique value proposition. So this is really cool, right? And I remember talking about this, and I've talked to, in the years I've had, as a privilege it's been to be able to talk to and coach a lot of chiropractors in and out of Max Living. So, I've had the opportunity to coach a lot of chiropractors who do different styles of care. So that's one of the questions I have for them is, first of all, I ask them, what is chiropractic? Right? And this is a great thing for you to ask yourself. What is your elevator speech? We used to say, what is your elevator speech? If you met somebody in an elevator, could you tell them articulately and eloquently what is chiropractic in the matter of 30 seconds? Can your team recite that? So is this something that you train on? So everybody in your office, and we were really, really firm on this, everybody in our office had to know that. I wanted them to go home to their family, or if they were out in the store, I wanted them to be able to explain exactly what chiropractic is in the way that I felt it should be explained, right? If they're working in our office, we're part of the same team, they need to explain it in the way that we focus our team together. So build your team, make sure they can articulate what you do. And here's the second part of that. What makes us unique? Why would somebody come and see us versus going down the street or across town, or maybe even paying something less, or going to somebody who charges by the visit, maybe at a very much smaller price, and as opposed to coming to our office and getting on a 1-year care plan, or 36 visit care plan, a 48 visit care plan, whatever that care plan is, for a few $1,000s. Why would somebody do that? So we literally would make a list and say, this is what sets us apart. This is what makes us different. So I'm going to ask you guys, just quickly on the phone here, or quickly on the line, what makes you different?
I would definitely say doing spinal correction, even just doing x-rays. So many chiropractors don't even do x-rays to start off for safety. Certainly don't have a team approach, a lifelong wellness approach, don't have a corrective care spinal rehab, don't have a neurology center, don't provide makeovers, dinners, talks, don't even just have the mindset for lifelong wellness versus just acute care.
Awesome. Anybody else? So I'm going to say, this is exactly why I want to bring this up, because here's the thing. And so now that I'm immersed in this marketing world, I start to see these things, right? And originally, when we were in it, and when I did it back in, we started, I think it was in 2013, started doing Facebook ads, and it was, Colin Swalla who ran our Facebook ads, and he was awesome. I mean, and it crushed, like it did so well, because hardly anybody was doing it at that point. And it was all just very pain-based. It was all very symptom-based. But it worked. It got people in, and it got lots of people in. And then we had a really good day 1, day 2, day 3. We had great doctor support, and we were able to convert a lot of those people. And it really helped, maintain and build our practice. So it was fun, but it's different now. And this is why I say that, because now that everybody's doing marketing, right? The majority of chiropractors are doing some sort of online marketing. So we are competing. So you realize you are competing against all the other chiropractors in your town. So you have to position yourself as unique. And what we have to do is we really have to create an online presence of what we stand for. So Justine just said a couple things there, which I would say, so I'm gonna throw this back in Justine's court and say, so if that's what truly makes you unique, so you do x-rays, you have a full wellness care center, you offer a lot of different services, is that reflected in your marketing? So if you do marketing, are you marketing to an audience that resonates with that? So in other words, I would say, so if you're my client, I would say, so why don't we start some ads with you showing somebody an x-ray and talking about the severe subluxation that's causing their problem, you know? So that would be a fantastic way to be congruent with your marketing and bringing people in. Does that make sense?
I would say it completely makes sense, but we use it something similar as in the funnel, not at the beginning. So the beginning shows what an adjustment is, a video, you know, so that it looks safe, and it does have hook lines for discomfort. And I would still say a majority of our patients, or many of our patients, still come in with an initial concern, but we do have, after they start that, before they schedule, and they have to watch the video before they schedule, it talks about what would happen in the office, what to expect, what we're looking for in the office. And then once they've watched that, they can follow up. And then the follow-up questions, it does say, is there a main concern, or is this a wellness spinal checkup? So we're planting that seed right at the beginning.
So this is awesome, because this is exactly what we were talking about at seminar, in the fact that adding these extra steps into your funnel and educating them before they come into the office. So whether it's a video sales letter, it's a welcome letter, it's extra emails, whatever that is huge to what we call incubate that lead, to warm them up. So by the time they get there, they have a better understanding of what you're delivering. Number 2, develop a niche market. So so typically in DC2, most of you that do any type of corrective care, you have a niche market. You are masters at correcting subluxation. And so I would say this is absolutely something you want to position yourselves as. Corey has positioned himself in his community as somebody who does very specific corrective type of care, scoliosis correction, subluxation correction, and that's his office is now very congruent on providing that corrective type of care. And look what it's done to his practice. I mean, his practice has become extremely profitable as a result of that. So when you develop your niche market, you're now defining your client avatar. Here's a neat little conversation I had just last week with a female chiropractor who's down in the States. And she is a solo practitioner, and she wants to build a pediatric practice. And so I was asking her about her marketing, what she's doing. She said, yeah, we run ads. And I said, well, what is your offer and what are your ads? She goes, well, they're typically lower back pain type of ads. And I said, so typically what type of clients would respond to lower back pain? She goes, oh, well, it's mostly men, you know, like older men in their 40s, 50s, they're laborers or whatever, you know, that have had back injuries and stuff. I said, is that congruent with the practice you want to build? And it was kind of like a revelation moment. Like, no, but it was basically her way of paying the bills. So we talked about just some different strategies on how to reframe that and start attracting the people that she wanted to bring into her practice. So just some interesting things to think about. Number 3, and Brian, jump in here anytime if you want to.
Well, the only piece on this, just for perspective on this, like as we're going through and talking through this, like the practicality part is like the piece of standing out. So not to name names, but we'll describe this gentleman as a former Liberal MPP, who was actually our former health minister here in Ontario, who was the one who removed chiropractic from OHIP. Came into my office last week from a Facebook ad and said the only reason he was in there is from the ad. He really liked how it seemed an all-encompassing approach where we would look for cause. He's really been trying to find the cause of his problems from an ad, right? And a guy who clearly didn't think chiropractic should be part of the healthcare system. Another gentleman who just started had his report, very high D driver, so I don't expect a lot of communication from these people. And it's his day 4 before I even have like the who else conversation. He's like, I talked to my coworkers. I just told them like this has been, my life has completely changed. I've only been here 3 days, but just I feel so much different. And I'm like, that's awesome. And on his way out, he turns around as he's going to do his advanced rehab. My team's going to set him up. He turns around, looks at me, and he goes, and I told my friend, like, not just is he going to get better here, but the system you guys have, it's just amazing and how it all flows. So these are pieces like when you get unsolicited feedback like that, I can tell you like if someone goes into a medical system, they're not looking for cause, which people, this is like in my experience, that's what people want nowadays. They don't feel that they're handled well. It feels mismanaged. It feels disjointed. So if you're really trying to create something unique that like when we're talking about supply demand, people want this. They just don't seem to know that we have it. Right. But that's what's going to create these raving fans. That's what's going to create the retention. That's going to create when someone comes in, like we just had a cop come in and goes, oh, I'm coming to you because my chiropractor retired. I go every 2 weeks. And I'm like, he goes, I've never had an exam like this. And I'm like, yeah. your problems have been there for 20 years. If you want to do correction, he goes, I think I want to do something different, right? It changes the conversation. It expands their thinking. It expands their viewpoint if you're offering something different.
This is amazing. This is awesome. I love this because, and so Brian's just opened up the door for number 3 here, which is invest in exceptional customer experience. And the thing is, how do people refer? How do people stay in your office is because they have an incredible experience. And it's even more so than the results. So if you can create a great customer experience, and this is why I always give Brian credit for having such a fantastic team, because his team is so well trained and they're so systematized that they can have a consistent experience for everybody that comes in, whether they're a new patient, a day 2, a day 3, regular patient, progress exam, whatever it is, they have a consistent training and system in place. And so people have a similar expected experience. And the only thing I would say in Brian's case, if I had people coming in telling me like that, I'd be saying, hey, that, there's so many people that would love to hear that and that need to hear that. Can you do a video testimonial? We just happen to have a camera set up in the corner over here 24/7. And I would love for you to share that so I can share that with other people. So that would be huge. That's amazing. Build a strong brand identity. I skipped number 5 here. Build a strong brand identity. So have a big story, or have a story of your big why. So remember that your practice is 100% reflection of your personal brand. And let's be really honest. So and I'll prove this to you. So let's just say, hypothetically, you bring in an associate. And your idea is, gosh, I'm so busy. I'm seeing way too many people, more than I can handle on a physical and emotional level. I want to free up some of my time. I want to bring in an associate. And that would be a good reason to bring in an associate so that they can take some of the load off of you. So you bring in an associate, and all those people that you were seeing that now go and see the associate come back to you and say, I don't want to see the associate. I want to see you. Well, the associate might be a great adjuster and might be a super person, but they're not you. So they haven't built a personal brand that has attracted that person. Same thing if you go sell your practice, it is absolutely common. In fact, I'm going to say nearly 100% of the time, the practice volume for any practice that's doing any type of volume, if it's sold to another person, goes down after it's sold. Unless that person coming in is a real dynamic person and can earn the trust of people and then build their own personal brand within that clinic, and then it grows up. But that takes time. So people resonate to you. They don't resonate to your systems, your technique, or the way you adjust or anything. They resonate to you. So have a story, have a reason of why you're there, and don't be afraid to share it with people. Steven's go-kart story, or my motocross story, or whatever that is, and I've got tons of stories to share, whether it's the story of my mom or whether it was a story of my Aunt Ruth, or I had tons of stories through the years that I would often share to people that when I shared them, it got me emotional. I would almost bring me to tears in telling them. And that resonated with people because they felt me being vulnerable but passionate about what I was delivering. And so if you don't have a story that really opens up you to share your big why, work on that. That's really important to build your personal brand. Leverage thought leadership. Leverage thought leadership. So what does that mean? Well, you guys are so intelligent. We as chiropractors need to give ourselves more credit. We often, as a profession, look at ourselves as second-class doctors. And unfortunately, that's, the public doesn't even look at us like that. The public doesn't look at us as somebody who's earned the term DR in front of their name. The public looks at us as some sort of therapist that is maybe on par with a massage therapist or a physiotherapist. And that's the truth. That's the general perception. And that's been shown in surveys and studies. So we really need to create opportunities where we can go share our passion and share our knowledge with people. And that's why I would say, so we love doing dinners in our office. And that was my opportunity to bring people out where I could share my passion and share my heart and share my knowledge with people. And that's one of the biggest things that built our practice. Sure, we had to spend a few grand to get 200, 300, 350 was our biggest dinner, was 350 people. We had to spend a few grand to get them all there, feed them, but I had a captive audience. And it was a way to share, and it was like the return on the investment of that was ridiculous. It was incredible. And if I was going to go back into practice, that would be the first thing I would set up for my marketing, is actually set up some regular dinners. So I'd encourage you guys, if you're not doing that, set that up and just make it on a regular basis. Even if it's quarterly, once every couple of months, once a month, whatever you decide to do, it's a great way to go share your heart and your expertise. So I mentioned this at the seminar, is that moving forward, we're in an online world now, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, we're in an online world. People don't congregate like they used to. The population at churches has gone way down. The population at clubs has gone way down. People don't get together like they did in the past. That's a big thing. Like the church world is struggling big time. So what are they doing to adapt? they've gone to online. They've, look at something like Elevation Church, which is one of the only churches I know that's progressive and growing at the rate that they're growing. They've gone to an online system. So they've got so many online followers, different campuses, but so many online followers. And this is where I think we need to go as a profession, is that create your online presence. Start doing webinars, start doing Zoom talks, or have a monthly nutrition talk, or whatever it is. Have a group, like a VIP club in your office. Maybe people pay an extra amount to be part of your VIP club, but you meet with them on a weekly basis and you can talk about all of your expertise. You can talk about business strategies. You can talk about hiring a team, how you train your team. You can talk about how you raise your kids. You can talk about how you maintain your fitness. Like, there's all kinds of things that people would love to sponge out of your mind, that if you just took the initiative, you could create such a following by doing that, which would then feed back into chiropractic, because you tie in chiropractic to everything.
I'll add to that, Colin. So we have the weekly Zoom call. So I do a talk every week. And if people want any topics or slides, I can help with sharing that. But a big resource I use is Dr. Jockers, because you can get the slides pretty easily and create a 20-minute talk. So this morning I did it on edema, and the causes of edema, and then the natural solutions, and just using his article. And we were asked at the last seminar to set up a longevity series. So I have that coming up in the new year. And then for the co-op students, if you do have students in your practice or co-op students, I pay them $50 a video. So even my daughter, I just asked her, made a pelvic floor video. I can share that. Other people can use that. But having the students and kinesiology students, they'll do a video for you for $50. So I had one do hip mobility, another one do like tennis elbow, another one do shoulder mobility. So it doesn't necessarily have to be injury related. And having multiple different voices, so it's not always you. Can help go with your Facebook challenge and with your website, and also just help them with a resource. So when someone says, oh, I have tight hips, okay, go to this and watch that hip mobility video. And I think it just, again, is creating that following that you're talking about, and not always just being yourself. And I find $50 a video is huge value for me. And then you're also just helping a student get some extra money, and they're actually better at cutting and pasting the different shots and making sure that, it flows better. I find they do a better job than I do.
Oh, and plus listen, I know, because I do edit videos, and it's time consuming for sure. So I think you're getting incredible value for your money, and the $50 you pay is paying off big time. So to create a library of videos is what an awesome idea. I would love it if you could share some of those links with the group, Justine, so they could see.
Everybody can go to my YouTube channel, and you'll see that I think we have close to 500 videos since COVID. Anything that's there that you like, I'm happy to share. Any topics that you like, just let me know. I'm happy to share. And what I just did recently hasn't aired, but I just did it just last weekend, is trying to start videos explaining chiropractic in different languages. So I'm in a very Punjabi area. I'm going to do another one in Hindi, but I did like a doctor's report back and forth, 20 minutes. I spoke English, they spoke Punjabi, English, Punjabi, English, Punjabi. And so I made on last Saturday 5 videos in Punjabi/English. So now I'm going to try and do Hindi, try and do Spanish. Again, just changing it up and changing so it's not always me speaking. So you get that third-party endorsement as well.
See, this is awesome. And this is exactly what we're talking about here. So thank you very much for sharing that. That's huge. Hopefully that's very eye-opening for you guys. Is that really is just positioning. Justine's really just positioning herself as the expert in what she's doing in all kinds of different facets. And she's opening it up, opening the door for, you've obviously adapted to the fact that you're in a very multicultural area, and opening the door for all those people. So that's incredible.
Just so you know, the Punjabi one, for example, isn't Justine Blade Wellness Center. So like, if you guys want a copy of it, again, it's just chiropractic. I didn't, people could use my videos the same way I use Dr. Rosie's video. So patients who are on their, after the day 2 invitation to the doctor's report, they get in that link, they get 2 videos. One's a 7-minute video of mine, very, very short. And if the patient wants more information, I actually use Dr. Rosie's doctor's report to get that third-party endorsement again for those who are like very intellectual and want more information. So they're actually watching either a mini report or a 45-minute report before they get to the doctor's report, and they have that option. So this one in Punjabi, I'm going to try and help if I know those patients who don't speak English, and try and increase that. The last seminar that was excellent at CNAC, Matt Loop spoke, and he's also like a marketing guru like yourself. And he talked about having 100 1-minute videos. So that's on my to-do list, is He says do one a day. I find I just don't remember one a day. Maybe somebody else would, but my goal is to set up days where I'll do like 21-minute videos, and then another day, do 21-minute videos to start creating a more of a library of these really short videos to use as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is absolutely the way that marketing is going. It's very, very video driven. So good for you. That's fantastic. Okay, next thing. Number 8, foster a community or tribe. Well, how do you do that? Well, first of all, like I said, people resonate with you when you share your vision. So when you create a personal brand, and what is your personal brand? Patrick Gentempo says your stand is your brand. So whatever it is you stand for or stand against, that resonates with people. So don't be afraid to push the limit. Don't be afraid to condemn the use of chronic medications. I mean, the pharmaceutical industry is running the medical industry, let's face it, and people are being prescribed way more medication than they need. So I become over the years very vocal about, everybody knows where I stand on that topic. All my friends do, all my kids' friends, my the in-laws, they all know where we stand. So don't be afraid to be vocal about something that you believe in or believe against. That's a great way to do that. So that's a great way to attract your tribe. So as I mentioned earlier, dinners are a fantastic way to be able to do that. Online webinars, and this is something I mentioned at the seminar. This is something that we're going to start creating for you guys, is webinars so that you can use in your office to attract patients, and set up so instead of going out and doing a talk, you do a monthly webinar or a weekly webinar or a quarterly webinar, whatever you choose to do to attract this community and this following. Okay, next one. Number 9. Tailor pricing models. This is what's going to set us apart. This is what makes us not a community. So of course we have care plans, but that's why I said at the beginning, our care plans have to be congruent with what we're delivering. So if we're delivering something other than pain relief care, we have to have a system in place to teach them that we're not here to treat pain relief. We're not here to treat symptoms. We're here to get to the root cause. This is how we get to the root cause. This is how we correct the spine, and our care plan is congruent with that spinal correction. So this is why we suggest you come in for 4 months or 5 months or 12 months or whatever your care plan represents. Make it if you want to have a family practice, have a family plan. So as a family of 4 boys, and listen, we made great money, but I remember going to the dentist, and when everybody went to the dentist, and we would go to the dentist regularly, it was a good chunk of change. And there were times where we didn't have any dental insurance. Later on in our career, we did get some just to cover all that stuff, and all my kids had braces. But I remember it was costly. And so people look at that. They want to bring their families in, but they look at it, if they're going to be paying, $1,500, $2,000 a month for their family to be under care, that's probably not reasonable for the majority of families. So you have to decide where are you going to bend and not break. So have a family plan that people can afford to bring their children in. Home care for those, if you're doing corrective care practice, but you're not including or selling home care as part of your care plan, that again is incongruent. So make sure that you have home care implemented into your care on some level. And I know that the majority of you are not doing that, because I talk to Stephen and Michelle all the time about who's buying home care and who's not. Get it in. Like it's only going to help the patient be more engaged. It's going to help you get better results, and it's a source of income for you. So add it into those care plans. And the last thing I would say, look at all the people that want to come on a regular basis. So make it easy for them to do that. Have a monthly subscription plan. Like, I mean, people go to the gym for a reason. They go to the gym because they want to be healthier, or they want to lose weight, or they want to look good, or whatever that is. But even if they had that motivation, but they had to pay every time they went in, do you think they'd go as often? No way they would. So have a plan that allows them the opportunity to come regularly without the differences in the financial. Take that financial, emotional decision out of the equation. Any other thoughts on those?
Can I ask a question about what's happening for others in family plans? Because I used to do the $3.99 after the first person on, which was Dr. Mike Reed. Now I do discounted. I guess like 30% off. And then the last person, once you get to 5 or 6 people, is 50% off, but it still adds up. And my last family, 5 people, because they were needing quite a bit of care, all of them had like cervical reversal. It ended up being like $9,000 for the family. So then everybody quit, even though the last 3 were 50% off, which is like making nothing. So just trying to figure out a family plan that's in that affordable range. Like if you have 5 people, but they're all, at $7,000, you're actually losing money. So trying to find that balance, I try to talk, so, okay, maybe two start to do wellness care until they can afford it, and then the next group, but how do people manage that conversation without losing money and giving it away?
So,
So
I can share what we do. Is first person is our capped fee, second person's 25% off, third and on is 50% off. When I
Mhm.
run the math on it, we're still profitable. When you look at the family as a whole, now our biggest family's 5, like we don't have anyone bigger, so you'd have to run the numbers. Like, does that make sense? If I'm giving that many people 50% off, like what's your cost per visit versus collection per visit? Like, does it make sense? But on any bigger family, so if it's 3 or more, like even if it's like 2 adults and a kid or whatever, we always pre-frame the conversation being that when we get into families, depending on what your budget will allow, many times people elect to put the most serious cases through correction while we do some sort more of symptomatic or maintenance-based care for the others to protect them where they're at. And then we start to swap people through the process. But that's how families tend to deal with this. It depends on your budget. So if you do have a much bigger budget, possibly everyone go through correction if needed. But we preface that first because I found the same thing. Having that discussion after they said it's too expensive, it's like their brain was always like, we just can't do this. Where if
Right.
I prefaced it up front, some people then it made for a better conversation. They're like, oh, or I don't know whether their brain just turned off when they saw the number, or if they're like, oh, now he says that, is that a sales tactic? Like, I don't know what the perception was, but if we prefaced it before showing plans in families, we find a lot of people based on budget do this. If you have a bigger budget, maybe everyone can do correction, but just wanted to give you a fair warning up front.
here,
Thank you. I
here's the
agree.
business
I
answer.
did not pre-frame that well. So definitely something I could do better next time.
Here's the business answer, and I would say, Justine, you're at one end of the spectrum by saying if you look at your official capacity to say, okay, if my official capacity is the number of people I can see per hour, effectively, where I'm busy and not standing around and not getting too far behind versus times the number of hours in my week. So let's say that's adds up to 400 people a week. If I'm not seeing 400 people a week, then put a family plan in place where you're caring for people and maybe at a reduced or lower fee, or maybe you have it capped at a certain amount so that you can fill those spots. But if you're at a place where you are, where you're busting at the seams and now you have to expand your time, that's where you have to decide to say, okay, no, I'm not willing to expand my time. And that's where the fee has to go up to say, I'm only willing to see people who are completely committed in those times, because that's all I can handle in those times. So for most of us, we're not at that official capacity. We can add more people, have a family plan that makes it worthwhile. Like, so ask yourself, is this something that I could afford for myself and my family on a regular basis? Could I afford, $1,500 a month or whatever it is it comes out to? Last one here is be mission driven. So just align yourselves with a bigger mission. Like have a big picture for what it is you're doing. So give yourself a reason to get out of bed every day that is above and beyond going to the office and actually seeing people. Like whether it's driven spiritually, whether it is you're fighting for the profession of chiropractic, whether it's you're doing something big in your community, whatever that is, be very mission minded. And when you become mission minded, you start serving other people in a big way. The fulfillment that you get and the energy that you create around you completely changes. And when that changes, everything around you everything falls into place. You'll just see it's amazing. The phone will start ringing because there's this energy, this vibration, and people just start coming. You wonder how this is happening, but it all comes down to you. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was position and delivery. There's 2 ways to look at this. Number one, most of us are really good at delivery. And I would say if your systems in your office are not where they should be, we need to train. We need to train with our team. We need to make sure that we have those trainings set up so that we're doing these things on a regular basis to get the results we need to get. But here's the thing, you can be the best chiropractor in your town. You can be the best chiropractor in your province, in your country, in your state. If nobody knows you, it doesn't matter. So you have to create a campaign, whether that's a marketing campaign or your live campaign where you're out in person doing talks in your community, whatever. You have to create a reputation and a personal brand that precedes you so people know who you are and know what you do. And I would say that's more important than the delivery, because you can be a terrible adjuster and you can really have mediocre systems in your office. But if you've positioned yourself like the best doctor in your community, you'll be busting at the seams busy. So this is what we want. We want to be the ice cream truck on this sunny, hot day, and the only ice cream truck in the park where people are lined up, wanting to get to us. So hopefully that helps you guys.
From a spinal correction point of view, Colin and I talked about this. I would need time to prep it, but but what would people benefit from as far as the spinal correction goes? Like, there's like, I don't need time to prep it or how to do it, but like, is it going over an x-ray and how to mark it? Is it going over an x-ray? These are the adjustment findings. How do you prioritize those? If you got 10 and you only want to adjust 5, what type of home care would you give? Like, for us to progress this well, because we've been in different levels, what would you guys need or benefit from? If you want to drop it into the chat, our text line, it'll help us improve these or add more based on what you guys need into these calls for you.
And on top of that, so thank you for bringing that up, Brian. On top of that, if you'd like this call to morph into a training call where we can actually say, okay, you know, you're welcome to bring your team on, or one of your team members, or multiple team members, so that we can actually train on whether it's day 1, day 2, the handoff process, the doctor's report, the sign on, the care plans, anything like that. If that's helpful too, we could certainly implement that as well.
Yeah, we're kind of in between. It's like those two pieces we feel there's a need that people struggle a bit with the correction aspect. There's different pieces of it. A lot of people struggle with the team training piece. So we're trying to figure out how we use this time to be that for our offices. So feedback would be appreciated.
Cool. All
All
right,
right,
guys.
awesome.
Have a
Bye,
great
everybody.
week.
Have an awesome rest of the week.